Story, so welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about my reading journey and how I kind of progressed as a reader. I've been basically reading my whole life, and there are so many books that have sort of influenced me and have been kind of milestones in my reading experience, so I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. The good thing with YouTube and me doing like videos talking about books I like is that you can kind of track it a little bit, I guess, at least back to when I started booktube, because I would obviously talk about the books I was reading, but before then, even like when I was a little kid, like what kind of books I was reading, what I was into, and that sort of things. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let's get started. I guess my reading journey started back when I learned how to read. Who would have thought? Basically, I'm pretty sure I learned how to read the summer before I got into first grade in primary school, just because I couldn't wait anymore. Like, my mom used to read us a lot of books when we were younger, and I just wanted to read them for myself. Like, I just couldn't wait to kind of be independent as a reader and not have to rely on someone else to read something to me in order to kind of comprehend the story. And I've always loved stories. I've loved reading stories and telling stories, and I was super hardcore into it. And there is a lot of books that I had my mom and my dad read to me so many times that I would learn them by heart and then kind of pretend to read them for myself out loud. But actually, I wasn't actually reading it, I was just reciting it, which is funny. And one of those books I used to do that with was this one. It says it's like for kids starting at 6 years old or something, and I think it's supposed to be like something that you can read for yourself for the first time. But I remember I don't know if this is an accurate memory, you know, sometimes you have these like retrospectively constructed memories, but my memory of this is that I kind of taught myself how to read using this book. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know, maybe someone else taught me, I don't know, I genuinely don't. But basically, this was one of the books that I read at the very beginning, and it just follows this like hedgehog, and he's like a pizza delivery guy. I don't know. I read this book probably like a million times, and I just loved it so much. I don't know why, but I loved it a lot. Actually, kind of going back before then, I also wanted to show you some books that my mom used to read to me. And I'm not actually sure, maybe that was also this transition phase where she would read us books, me and my sister, and kind of we would start to get into them ourselves, to start try and read them ourselves. Here's a few that she would read to us. The first one is actually in English, which I really liked. This is the Jolly Postman by Janet and Alan Alberg, and this is like a whole series about the postman that delivers stuff on Christmas or something, or like just the postman. The Jolly Postman, I think, is what the series is called. And I remember, I think she bought this book when she was abroad, like when she went to London for a few days, and she just brought it back to us, and she would read this to us in English, and obviously we wouldn't understand a word, but she would translate it for us. And it's just so cool because it's this postman, he delivers stuff for Christmas, and then like there's the actual cards in here and stuff like that. We adored this book. I think she read it to us probably a million times as well. Another book is this one, which is enormous. It still has a bookmark in it, I think, somehow. Yeah, and the bookmark is Children's Band-Aids, so that's fitting. This is about a family. It's like a bind-up of 3 books, and it's about a family, and this is the youngest child. It's called Nesthäkchen. It's really cute. I love this one. And this is another well-loved book. I think this has been in my family for a really long time, as you can see. It is a really, really old bind-up of fairy tales, and we also have one of like folklore tales, but this is really just fairy tales, but they're like the kind of original story still, so they're not censored, you know, they're not dumbed down Disney versions or something. And some of them have like pictures in them too, and they're like kind of scary. So yeah, those are kind of just the beginning that kind of really just like sparked my love for stories and like fairy tales and, you know, mystical worlds and fantasy and that sort of stuff. And then I went into that and read it myself. There's a lot of stuff I read in primary school. It's really hard to sort of make a timeline out of this, kind of when I read what, when I was into what, because I can't remember, just honestly, I can't. But I read a lot in primary school, and there was this option from our school sometimes to buy like little books, and that's what we did, and they're all kind of this edition somehow. And I just picked this one out because it is one of the most scary ones to me that I read at the time, and this is for kids starting at 7 years old, and it's called Die kleine Lachfrau, meaning The Little Laughing Lady by Alamosa. Maybe this is a little bit racist from today's standards, but it's about a Japanese woman and she makes like dumplings and she loses one and it rolls all the way into the ground where like a demon lives, and it's pretty scary. And she has to go and like she follows it and tries to find it, but like this is what the demon looks like. And I'm not sure if you can see this properly, but basically like just imagine like a 7-year-old reading that would be scary. But I really like these books, and there's a lot of them because they're all super small and we could buy them. Yeah, and this is one I really loved, and I read this probably again a million times. We also read some comics sort of stuff. We love the Asterix and Obelix comics. I don't know if they are as popular or as like beloved in other countries. Somehow I don't hear anyone abroad really talking about them, but these are by Goshino and Uderzo and they're hilarious. I love them. There's about 1 million of them. I'm not even sure, but I think we have all of them. We have 2 separate collections because my dad has his and we're not allowed to read his because he was worried that we would ruin them, which is me in 20 years when I have kids, and 20 years, well, when they're like of age to read, I don't know, but I'm not gonna let them touch my good, beautiful books with like sticky children's fingers, you know, so I totally feel him on that. But we had to buy our own and like, or like, you know, ask for our own editions for certain, you know, occasions because he wouldn't let us read his, and sometimes I would sneakily do it anyway, so you know, being a rebel. But these I just loved. I thought they were so funny. Another series of like comic stuff where it's like 1 million out is the Walt Disney Lustiges Taschenbuch. I'm pretty sure everyone in Austria and Germany has read these as well. I don't know if they are a thing anywhere else. Again, I don't know. But there are like 1,000 of them and we have all of them. Maybe almost all of them. When I got older and like started to read more and more and more, I used to read a lot of my mom's old books that she read when she was a girl. So one of them is by Enid Blyton. This is like 5 Friends series, and this is a really old edition. It's about like 5 friends and they go on adventures together. Well, 4 friends and a dog, and they go on adventures together, and these were always very, very suspenseful and exciting to me. Same goes for Alfred Hitchcock's The 3 Question Marks. This is a literal translation, I don't know, but these are like scary, scary stories. It's like about these 3... What? Oh no! Oh jeez, no. You know what I wrote here? I wrote Muggel müssen draußen bleiben, which means muggles must stay out. You know, muggles can't read this book. That must have been in my Harry Potter phase too, I would assume. How embarrassing. I also read a lot of these mangas, and these are Detective Conan by Gosho Aoyama, and I have like 84 of them. And I think there's like 90 out, so I basically have all of them. I just need to catch up because I haven't been reading these in a while. But I used to read scary stories in bed a lot, and then at night, to the point where I just couldn't bear it anymore, and then I would go over to my sister's room and just like make her let me sleep with her because I couldn't do it alone. I was so terrified, because if you know Detective Conan, sometimes they will show you like the culprit. If you're not supposed to know yet who it is, they'll show it to you in like this really dark form, or like this sort of stuff, right? Like that is fucking scary. That is, I don't know if you can see this, but that is still scary to me now that I just looked at it. I'm already scared, and that stuff, sometimes I would turn a page and someone like that would be on the internet and be like, nope, nope, I'm out of here. And like go wake my sister and make her let me in her bed. That was me, you know, being smart. And I knew that I was gonna be fucking scared. I knew it going into it, and I just didn't care because I loved the feeling, but then I'd usually just let it get a little too far. Stuff that wasn't really scary that I also loved was more Enid Blyton. I didn't know that she wrote these too. And these are Honey and Nanny, which are like twin stories, and there's, again, we have like 7 of them bind-ups, I don't know, and these are Tina and Teeny. They're kind of like girl detectives in a way, and they just like have their experiences, I don't even know anymore. But I really like these as well. There is so much dust on me right now, oh my god, because these haven't seen like the outside of the bookshelf in years, I think. Again, it's really hard to say the order I read these in, I couldn't tell you, but there's more kind of girlish stuff. I read the Make Habits, the Princess Diaries, that's what they're called, the Princess Diaries. Then these are by a German author called Thomas Brezina. He's a German children's author, and he's really famous. And this is like, no boys, just girls, and like they have their secret lair that where they don't let any boys in, and ooh, that's cool, you know, when you're at the phase where you're like, ew, boys, like just get away from me, okay? Then I also had the obligatory horse phase, and my horse phase went so far to actually getting a horse, which isn't the case for almost everyone. But if you've noticed around my room these really horrible looking glue marks, it's because at one point I set myself to goal to literally wallpaper my entire room in horse posters, and I got real close to having it literally everywhere, and it's horrible because I didn't use any kind of gentle glue. I used like freaking tape, like just full on tape them to the walls, and no one's gotten around to repainting them, meaning me. I don't know, but basically they look really horrible. Then this is another really cool book that my mom lent to me. It's the Artemis Fowl. Like, these are middle grade. I think they're not necessarily children's books anymore, but this is her copy of it, and I don't know, this is called The Conspiracy, I guess, by Ewan Colfer. I really like this book. I thought it was very, very weird and just super strange, and I know that there's more in the series, but this is the only one I ever read because it's the only one we ever had. Some more books that I read, like that I reread so often, are these by Eva Ibbotson. I was obsessed. These are not a series, but they all have like very similar elements of mystery and just being very, very suspenseful, not in any sort of like obvious detective crime way, but just like in the way that they were written. And I just remember being so caught up in these when I read them. Like, they kind of gripped me so much, like my little, I don't know, 12-year-old heart was in them. So I should give them to my sister, I guess. I don't know if she's read them before, but they're so good. Oh my god. Now we're ramping up to the more, I guess, like well-known books that I saved for the end of the video, I guess, because they kind of are some of the most influential to me, I guess, in my life. I mean, all of these have definitely contributed a large part to my love of reading and kind of perpetuating that, and just these different story worlds that were opened to me by me reading these books. It's something special, and I love that I have kind of had this love for reading for so long and kind of been able to foster it and be able to feed it in a way. I didn't always buy books. A lot of them I got from the library, but still, yeah, that's also the reason why I reread a lot of them, is because I just didn't own that many. I owned a lot because I also got some from my mom, obviously, that she had previously owned, but a lot I got from the library, and then or just like reread the same book over and over and over again. And one of those that I reread over and over and over again is Feuerblüte by Katja Brandis. Actually, the first time I picked this up was at the library of my school, and this is actually the first book of the sequel trilogy. So there's two trilogies in this universe, and this is the first book in the sequel trilogy, and this is possibly, very likely, the first book I've ever read that had a sex scene in it. And yes, it is for children. Don't worry, it's definitely not a very explicit sex scene at all. Like, it's maybe kind of hinted at, I guess, but still, I remember being kind of super taken aback by that because it hadn't happened in a book before, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Sexual awakening incoming. Basically, that is why this book is kind of a milestone for me, and also I just adored this universe. I definitely had read books before with sort of fantastical elements, but I think that this was also one of my first high fantasy series, and I was so into it. I listened to certain songs and they would put me in this universe, and I would just like imagine things happening there, and I had like this cinema sort of thing happening in my head all the time, and it was crazy how like wrapped up I was in this. And just looking at it now, it has actually a dedication in it from my grandma, and apparently she gave this to me for Christmas 2008, so that's almost 10 years ago. And then I guess two books that were part of a lot of people's reading journey and that kind of also, you know, influenced them to a large degree. The first one obviously has to be Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. This is the German edition of the first book, and I have so many friends that have read Harry Potter, but none of them own this edition, like this cover. I have never seen this cover anywhere else before. I don't know. I do remember that this used to belong to my mom, and then she gave it to me to read, and I don't know if she like gifted it to me or just like lent it to me and I just never returned it, who knows. But this was her cover, her edition, and it has like this really kind of yellowed pages and it looks interesting. I don't know, nobody else has this and it's really strange. And all my other books are also different covers. It's literally just the first one. I don't know what is up with this. I guess this is just like an earlier printing edition. But oh my lord, can we just talk about Harry Potter for a second? I used to be absolutely obsessed with Harry Potter, and I know everyone says this, but as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have that many books, so I would constantly be rereading these books, and I would just sort of start at the first one, and especially at the point where like 5 or 6 of them were out, I just read all of them, like marathon them, and then be like, well, I've kind of already forgotten what happened to the first one, and then just start over. And I definitely do think that I've read certain books in the series more often than others. Like I think book 3 I read the most, which is probably like 13 times, and I just don't even know how I did that anymore, because right now that is not something I see myself ever doing again, because why would I read the same book 13 times? Oh my god. I just remember me and my friends being all so obsessed with Harry Potter. We would have these like Harry Potter quizzes in school in like our breaks, or sometimes during class if it was like art class or something. You just ask each other questions, I feel like. I don't know how this system worked anymore, but basically just ask each other questions, and they had to be new questions every single time. So obviously fairly quickly we ran out of like sensible questions, and then it became questions like how many names start with an S in the Harry Potter series, and like name them all, and like, or you would ask about a specific page in a specific book, like what happens on this page, and like it was fucking crazy. We were hardcore into Harry Potter, and that was our life, and it was just a little bit weird. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say that they like really love the Harry Potter series, and a lot of people love it to this day, and I don't know, like I do value it for what it was at that age, and I am very grateful to the series for kind of representing such a huge milestone in my reading journey. But honestly speaking, at this age right now, I'm definitely not like in love with the Harry Potter series anymore. I definitely wouldn't say that these are my favorite books of all time, because they're not. They were very important to me at the time, and I'm pretty sure at that time they were my favorite books of all time, forever and ever and ever, and that's what I would have told you. But just growing up, I definitely grew out of them. You know, it's what happens. I do have a lot of nostalgic love for them still, but I just like nah, I'm like out of the hype. Basically, I'm out of the hype. I also just want to show you quickly my edition of the 5th Harry Potter, because this is one of the most battered ones out of all of them. I take pretty good care of my books for the most part. But this has like a split spine, and the pages are so dirty, and I have a story to go with that, because I used to be the kind of person, like I thought I didn't have enough time to read every single day during just the day, whenever, so I would have to read on my way to school. And by on my way to school, I mean also the parts where I would be walking. So one day, oh my god, I just broke it more, I think. One day I was walking like this, like just reading, and something happened, like I think it must have been in fall or something, because I don't know, it was dirty, there were puddles, it was raining a little, so I dropped this on the floor, and it fell into a puddle, or just at least into the dirt like this. And I'm guessing this is where the spine broke, and also where the pages got super dirty. So I also used to spill food on my books, unfortunately, so some of them just have like food stains. Fun times. Luckily, I'm much more careful with my books now. And then the final series I kind of want to talk about today is the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer, another series that has definitely had a played a huge role in my reading experience overall. Obviously, this is similar to Harry Potter. I've grown out of it, and growing up, I mean, Harry Potter doesn't sort of have the same problematic parts to it as Twilight series does, so it's not necessarily that comparable, but basically, I became aware of those problematic aspects after. I do still recognize that they played a huge part in my reading experience, and I don't want to miss that, you know? So I think I got the first book for my 12th or 13th birthday, I don't remember, from a friend who had read it and she was super in love with it and she was recommending it to me, so I read it too and I instantly died. This was before the hype, by the way. This was before the movies, before anyone really knew it, and I spread it further to my other friends, so we considered ourselves the ultimate hipsters. Like, we liked this thing before you liked it, we knew it before you liked it, we're better than you know, that sort of thing. And basically, Twilight was our life. We would constantly write stuff related to Twilight into like our notebooks. We would Google like funny things, you know how sometimes these like Twilight jokes and stuff like that. And then one particular time I remember that there was this contest going on where, I think this was a little bit later, for book 3 or 4, where you had, maybe 4, I don't know what the contest was exactly, but you just had to film a scene from the or like from the books and send it in, I don't know. And so we filmed the scene from Breaking Dawn that still exists somewhere out there, and it's probably the worst thing ever, and probably if I were ever to watch it again I would die of the cringe because that's crazy. I'm pretty sure it was the worst thing ever, but we were fucking obsessed with Twilight, I tell you. And I've mentioned this before, when the Midnight Sun thing was happening, maybe potentially happening, and like 1 or 2 chapters were leaked, I actually continued writing Midnight Sun for a little bit. And then I also wrote like fan fiction. I didn't really ever write a lot of fan fiction, but I did write some for Twilight because I just like was into it. And it was mainly just stuff from Edward's perspective, I guess, that if you consider that. And yeah, so those are just some of the books, really just a fraction of the books that have shaped me as a person and my reading experience throughout my life. I really, really appreciate all of these books for what they were and for what they gave me. These books made me into who I am today, into the reader I am today. They just sparked my passion for all things, you know, fantastical and otherworldly, and kind of fostered my creativity and just like thinking outside of the box. And I think it's really, really important to look back on this journey and see how far you've come and like what you've kind of accomplished in that, and like what these books, these just works of fiction have like represented for you, because for me they've represented a lot. So that was a really long, really long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know if this is already a tag, I don't know if this video already exists, I'm pretty sure probably it does, everything already exists. But if you would like to do a video like this, please do it and send me the link, because I would love to see your reading journey and like how you became a reader. I would love to hear your reader origin story, because those are the best. So thank you for getting through it and for making it to this point in the video. If you did, please like it and click the subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, and I will see you very soon. Have a lovely week. Bye!